We actually got the chance to visit Soweto, the very place that the first students stood up against the apartheid government. To be in that place where it was youth, it was students like standing up for the rights of education, that really kind of was the moment that reminded me of why the Peace Exchange is doing what it's doing.
We often imagine children growing up in inner city neighborhoods as being isolated from the wider world, but that's not the case with youth involved in the Peace Exchange. In 2015, these peace builders traveled to Nicaragua, and this year they went on an eye-opening, exciting trip to South Africa. To find out more, let's welcome Shayna Jones, a student at Berklee College of Music in Boston. She's an accomplished singer and one of the Peace Exchange's program assistants. And we welcome Tyler Matthews, a senior at DRW College Prep in North Lawndale and part of his high school's mediation group. So Shayna, tell me a little bit about where you grew up and how you got involved in this peace program.
Okay, well, I grew up in South Deering, but I went to school in Roseland, and I just noticed so much violence around the school, where I remember times when I wasn't able to leave the school because there would be shootings out around the perimeters, or there would be like people being mugged and robbed. So it just made me want to be more involved in helping out our community and just trying to find a solution or trying to help out with peace and just see how can we become a better neighborhood. So when I heard about the Peace Exchange, I was just like, this is an awesome opportunity for me to learn peace and nonviolence techniques to be able to use in my own community. So it was just like a done deal for me.
Outside of school, there's always outbreaks and fights. So whenever I walk outside of after school, there's always been fights breaking out due to gang violence or school rivalry. So when I found out about peer mediation, I found that to be a good opportunity to help kids make the right choices and stay out of situations that they shouldn't be in outside of school.
And how did that translate to becoming a peace builder?
Me becoming a peace builder and also working with the Peace Exchange gave me a better point of view of how peace should be maintained outside of school or outside of the United States. So it helped me bring me a better idea of how to help others and also help others make the right choices.
Great. And talk a little bit, Shayna, about the training that you had is it 80 hours of training, a 2-year process, or how long was that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is a year-long, program, but we had 80 hours of training that we had to do before we went on the trip to South Africa, and it included peace and nonviolence techniques, peace circles. We had to learn about mindfulness, and also meditation, and also just learn about domestic violence and different ways to handle people who are in those different situations, and just learn how to be more receptive of people and not offend people and things. So that was like huge. Those were like huge things that we learned before we went.
And Tyler, what did you gain from the training?
I gained how to be able to be more vocal around others and also finding ways to like get along with everyone, because back in when I was a peer mediator in my school, the thing about it was I wasn't really vocal enough to be around others, because before going to the Peace Exchange, I was kind of an antisocial type person. So whenever I got to get to know my peace builders and also get to know others with the organizations in South Africa, that was one of the ways to help me be more vocal and also help me find myself whenever I go back to Chicago.
And it was a lot of training around violence prevention, is that right, Shayna?
Right, we focused more on peace circles and how to just talk out our issues instead of being physical or just being verbally abusive to people. So it was mostly peace circles and meditation and learning how to be peaceful within yourself to be able to, bring peace to others around you.
So tell me about South Africa. What did you do there, Tyler?
What I've done was do community service. So one thing that stood out to me the most is when we traveled to Bluffington, I get to know like how isolated the area was. So what stood out to me the most was helping this lady build a home, because she really didn't have a good stable home. So what we did is we worked with an organization known as Living Green, and us as peace builders, we help Living Green program to help build houses and make the community better.
Tell us about your experience there in South Africa, Shayna.
It was just amazing because they were under-resourced communities. They didn't have indoor plumbing. There was a water shortage, and it was just, they didn't have the privilege of just leaving out their house and just being able to experience some of the beautiful things we were able to experience here. But they were still some of the nicest people that I've ever met. Walking through their neighborhoods, I know they have violence issues too, but they were so receptive and you didn't feel threatened, and it was just like a different atmosphere over there. So I just loved like the humble feeling that I felt from them, and it just really gave me a new perspective on life to just really be grateful for what I have, because they don't have a lot, but to them that's still everything. So that was just like a huge thing for me, just being able to experience the humble, atmosphere that they had.
What kind of parallels did you see, though, between South Africa and some of our violence in our Chicago communities?
I did notice that the under-resourced communities, they still experience violence such as theft, and they had a pretty high murder rate. So those were some of the connections that I can make, but it was just different to me because you didn't feel the threat. Here it's kind of like we have like a sense of, pride, or it's just a different atmosphere here. I think it just feels like we're more aggressive here, but there's it seems just more peaceful, or less threatening. I don't know, it's just the sense that I got while I was there.
You talked about one of the organizations you partnered with in South Africa. Can you tell me a little bit about the other ones?
The other organizations that we came across was Imagine Scholar, which is like the biggest highlight of our trip, because we get to know students or kids around our age that we can relate to because of how the things that we're interested in, like music, movies. They were just like us from a different part of the country. So that was one of the best experiences that I had for the program.
How about you, Sheena? What was some of the other partners that you were with, some of your great memories and experiences from there?
I know we partnership with Start Living Green, and they focus on building economical housing and things for under-resourced communities, and I loved being able to be hands-on and helping build houses. People can't say that they went to Africa to help build a house. That's just amazing to me. So that was a huge experience for me, on top of working with troubled youth at Lafika Lafodiso, which is a arts therapy program, and it was just amazing to be able to just see how, even though they had struggles and issues they went through, they were still able to receive the different peace art works that we put them through, and they were able to just relax and receive us, so that was amazing.
And how did this change you, Tyler? Coming back, what did you notice different about yourself?
I noticed different about myself is not only that I've been more vocal, but also enjoy helping others and make people feel positive around others.
Same question, Shayna. How did you, what changed when you came back for yourself?
I would say my outlook on life, because I would be really frustrated with small things, if I can't get somewhere on time, or, oh, my brother's in the bathroom right now, and it's little things like that. They don't have the luxury of just a lot of the communities didn't have the luxury of just going to the restroom in their house. They had to go outside, to use the restroom. So it was just a different outlook that I was able to bring back, just to be more grateful for what I have, because they don't have half as much as we have, but they're still really nice people, and they still embrace what they have. So a different outlook is what I brought back.
And what about some of the lessons you learned that you can make a difference here in Chicago, bring back and make a difference in some of the communities right in our where you're living at the moment?
I would say I can bring back the lesson that material things can only go so far, but what you do have, you should use that to bless others, because that is how you really prosper. It's over there, they would give you their last meal if that's all they had, and if you asked for it. That's how grateful they were. And I think that kept their spirit up, and that's why they were able to be such happy people, because they were giving. And so that's the lesson I bring to people here, is that, if you just give and stop worrying so much about what you don't have, your life will just flow a lot easier, as you can see in South Africa and stuff. So.
Tyler, what are some of the lessons you learned and that you are bringing back here to Chicago and trying to make a difference here?
The lesson that I learned in South Africa is not to give up on peace, because giving up on something that you really care about is just pretty much a waste. So I'm planning on not giving up on peace, because in order to spread peace, you have to start it within you. Mm-hmm. So I'm making sure that peace can stay alive for everyone in Chicago.
Well, Shayna and Tyler, thank you so much for sharing just a little bit about your trip, because I know you have so many more memories that you could share with us, and I really appreciate you both being with us. Mm-hmm. And thank you. I'm Anne Marie Gerhardt for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.